Okay, Ziki. Today we're reading chapter 49 of Genesis. Okay? Can you read the title of chapter 49? Jacob's last words to his sons. Verse 1. Then Jacob called to his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what shall befall you in days to come." Verse 2. Assemble and hear, O sons of Jacob, and hearken to Israel, your father. Verse 3. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and my first fruits of my strength, preeminent in pride, and preeminent in power. Verse 4. Unstable as water, you shall not have preeminence, because you went up to your father's bed. Then you defiled it. You went up to my couch. Verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their swords. Verse 6. O my soul, come not to their counsel. O my spirit, be not joined to their company. For in their anger they slay men, and in their wantonness they hamstring oxen. Verse 7. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Oh, so far some strict words for his sons. Let's see what happens next again. Verse 8. Judah, your brothers... Hey, why don't you read verse 8? Okay? Yes, read verse 8, son. Because I asked you to read verse 8.
Just tell me why.
Because I want you to join along. I want you to read. Okay? Come on. Read verse 8. Okay? If you're not reading, you follow along. Right now, you read verse 8, though. You gotta read loud so I can hear, son. I can't hear what you're reading. Start all over. Read verse 8 properly. No, start all over, son. Come on. Okay? What I need you to do is start all over. Read verse 8 loud so I can hear the whole verse. Okay? Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down before you. Okay? This is the first positive blessing. Okay? The others weren't so great. So Judah got a good blessing. Verse 9. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stood down. He lurked as a lion, and as a lioness, who dares rouse him up. Verse 10, popcorn word. Okay, I read one word, you read another word. Okay, I need you to follow directions, son. If I ask you to read popcorn, I want you to read popcorn.
No, popcorn reading is like you read a sentence, I read the sentence, you read the sentence. It's just not like popcorn.
That's one kind of popcorn. This popcorn, it's word by word. Okay? This is not debate class. I just need you to follow. If I want you to read a verse, you read a verse. Okay? If you try and argue again, you read the whole rest of the chapter, okay? Verse 10. The scepter shall
not,
depart
no,
Judah,
nor,
the read properly. I can't hear you, son. Staff beneath, between. You're right. Feet. How come I could hear you when you corrected data on the word, and the rest of the time I can't hear you, son? Okay? Read loud so I can hear you. Until he, to, it, and him be of peoples. Yes? You did good on the big words. You nailed them. You corrected data on between. I said the wrong word. Okay?
What did you say?
You nailed all the big words. What big word do you have a question about?
What did you say?
From before, I think. And you said, no, Dada, that's between. Okay, do you have any question on verse 10?
No.
Okay, follow on. Dada's going to read verse 11. Binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He washes his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. Okay, he's still talking about Judah. Okay, he gets a really long blessing for Judah. I think the first two, because like Judah's the fourth born, he had to give justification why they didn't get the main blessing. Now he's like, okay, Judah, the fourth born, you're going to get the big blessing. Okay? Verse 12, his eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. Okay? That means he's going to have wealth. He's going to be able to buy lots of wine and milk. Verse 13, Zebulun.
I saw it's
Zebulun.
But I saw it's
Yep, Zebulun. Verse 13, shall dwell at the shore of the sea. That's the next son. And he shall become haven for ships. And his border shall be Sidon. Okay, here's another son. Issachar is a strong donkey, crouching between the sheepfolds. He saw that a resting place was good, and that the land... Verse 15, he saw that a resting place was good, and that the land was pleasant. So he bowed his shoulders to bear, and became a slave at forced labor. Oh, that's not good.
What?
For Issachar.
What's that?
He became a slave at forced labor. Okay?
Why?
Now next is Dan.
Is he bad?
It doesn't say why. It just says he's a strong donkey crouching between. He saw that a resting place was good and that the land was pleasant.
Is he bad?
So he bowed his shoulder to bear and become a slave at forced labor.
Is he bad?
I would infer. Remember we word about infer? Okay, in con lesson, we word about infer. That means we make predictions based on what's here. Okay, it doesn't say he's bad, but guess what? Okay, if he became a slave, if this is Jacob blessing his sons, and he's saying, hey, you're gonna become a slave. He's probably doing some foolish things. Okay, because the whole Bible, the theme of the whole Bible is, if you follow Papa God, good things will happen. If you don't, if you're foolish, bad things will happen. Okay? So I infer...
Dada, one of my teeth wasn't in.
I know, baby. We're going to get you to the dentist. Okay? Verse 16. Dan. Remember Jacob's son Dan? Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent
What's a
in the way.
What's a
Tribe, that's a group of people, okay? All these groups of people in Israel, Jacob's given a blessing to his son Dan, saying he shall judge his people. Dan shall be a serpent.
What's a
Serpent, like a snake, okay?
What?
Issachar was going to be a slave, but here it says a serpent, like a snake. Dan shall be a... It doesn't say why. Let's just read it, baby. Serpent, like the snake. Yeah. So let's keep reading.
Is Dan going to be a snake?
Let's keep reading and find out, baby. Dan shall be a serpent in the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels, so that his rider falls backwards. Wow, that's an interesting blessing. Verse 18, I wait for your salvation, O Lord. Verse 19, raiders shall raid Gad, but he shall raid at their heels. Okay, he's saying his son Gad's going to have problems. Raiders are going to raid him. But then he's saying Gad's going to raid them back. Verse 20, Asher, that's another son. Asher's food shall be rich, and he shall yield royal dainties. Verse 21, Naphtali is a deer let loose that bears comely fawns. That is interesting. Verse 22, Joseph. Oh, this is his favorite. Okay, here we go. Joseph is a fruitful bow. A fruitful bow by a spring. His branches run over the wall. Verse 23, the archers fiercely attacked him, shot at him, and harassed him sorely. Verse 24, yet his bow remained unmoved. His arms were made agile by the hands of Almighty One of Jacob, by the name of the shepherd, the rock of Israel. Yeah, he's saying Joseph had a lot of problems. Yeah, he was sold into slavery, and then he became ruler of Egypt, okay? His bow was steady. That means he followed his inner principles. Verse 25, by the God of your father who will help you, by the God Almighty who will bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of deep that lies beneath, blessings of the breast and of the womb. Verse 26, the blessings of your father are mighty beyond the blessings of the eternal mountains, the bounties of the everlasting hills. May they be on the head of Joseph and on the brow of him who is separate from his brothers. Okay, next is Benjamin. That was a nice blessing for Joseph. Verse 27, Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning, devouring the prey, and at the evening, dividing the spoil. Okay, those were the blessings to all his sons. I don't remember hearing all of them. I didn't count them. I don't think there were 12, but that's a blessing for some of his sons. Jacob's death, okay, and burial. Okay, starting in verse 28. That's when Jacob dies, Ezekiel. All of
death and burial, that's when he dies?
Yeah, when he dies, because he's on his deathbed giving his blessing to all his sons. Now he actually dies. Verse 28.
I'm not on chapter 4 yet.
49. Yeah. Chapter 49. This is verse 28. Okay? Follow along, son. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is what their father said to them. And he blessed them, blessing each with the blessing suitable to him. Verse 29. Then he charged them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the fields of Ephron the Hittite. Verse 30. In the cave that is in the field at Plea.
Mac and cheese.
To the east.
It's mac and cheese.
No, it's Macamplea, you silly.
It's like mac and cheese.
Kind of. To the east
Because
of
it
Mamre.
has a, holy pepper.
Yep. Keep following along in the land of Canaan. So Jacob wants to be buried in the land of Canaan.
Why?
Because that's where his grandpa, his dad were buried.
But he was going to get buried in Egypt.
No.
God said that.
He was very clear. He said, Joseph, when I go, take my bones back to the land of Canaan. Okay, and that's what Joseph's going to do. Okay, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham brought with the fields of Ephron, the Hittite, to possess as a burying place. Remember when Abraham buried Sarah there? He wants to be buried in the same place. Verse 31. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. Verse 32. The field and the cave that is in it were purchased from the Hittites. Verse 33. When Jacob finished charging his sons, he drew up his feet into the bed and breathed his last and was gathered to his people. Okay? That's all of chapter 49. Do you have any questions?
No. It was 16 minutes